All right, so we're doing top 10 songs by Allman Brothers Band. We are in Austin, Texas. And this is an on the grass recording. Number 10 is Soul Shine. Great jam. Sort of a ditty. Not really, they're amazing exemplar of lyricism. However, it kind of recomposites their, their strategy in sort of a nutshell. And it's reminiscent of kind of a frayed sound. You could get that a little with Alice in Chains if you tried. So it kind of has a Hitherland tone where the guitar work, which is strikingly unusual, and it's tender enough that I think it's sort of a sweetheart song even then. So, Soul Shine. Number 9, we would have In Memory of Elizabeth Reed, which is a great song for a jam. Personally, I think if you play guitar, drums, it's pretty chill. For a set, takes up a lot of time, and it's got a jazz chordalism, right? Chordate, right? No, it's got enough jazz chords in there to make you feel fancy. It's not really like a dance song. It's very solemn and somber and sullen. However, it does tune well. So, if you want to feel a set, I couldn't really advise against it. That's number 9. Number 8 is Pink Floyd. No, get the fuck out of here. Number 8. Number 8 is what Ramblin' Man. Ramblin' Man is pretty fun. Amazing guitar work. Sort of threads together like a tapestry. Very blue, colorful. You get the gospel idea in it, which is nice. You don't quite get that in the last two. The vocals could be kind of improved upon. I think it's emblematic though, and it sort of bakes in to a final sort of product. It's definitely a product song. Doesn't have a ton of soul compared to some of the other songs for sure. It is not a really like a soulful tune. It's a rambling tune, and it's a lot. It reminds you a lot about when life is good, and it kind of makes you nostalgic for when life was gooder, right? Good Earth, even. That's Ramblin' Man. It's a very fast song, even though it's not designed to be a fast song. It ends up feeling that way, and the lines go at the right places. Uh, Although it gets a little loud into the ear. That's number 8. Number 7, I would say. Let's get back into the green grass here. Finish my coffee. Try to keep my beard intact. Trying to grow it out. Got some silver shred to it. Shedding out. Number 7 is Little Martha. I think Little Martha is kind of an exposition on sort of a guitar mentality and a framework for composition. It never takes off because unfortunately the guitarist dies. And it kind of represents the intelligence of the group, and it's also a more cherishable song than any other song they have, which is it's just striking when you countenance it with your first listen or even your last. I think it's pretty listenable. If I hear it on like a radio situation, which is usually more like a playlist these days, if I hear that, it ends up feeling like something's going right with the universe for someone else and not for me. It's a blue song in the sad way. An excellent sort of finger picking style by Dwayne, I believe. Not Richard Betts, right? And then after that, we have so that's number 7. Number 6, I would say number 6 is Midnight Rider, which is one that is has amazing vocals. It's the first one that the vocals really agree with on this list. I think later on in the list you'll find that the vocals also agree. However, Midnight Rider is a song about the proposition that we kind of face as as wanderers, maybe not grifters, maybe not so much, maybe just workers. And so it represents this ambition to be kind of free in a world that is self-enslaving. Obviously, the song isn't anything other than angry and lonely. And I would call it sad, not exactly. I don't think it's a sad. To be more precise, I think it is sort of like really toned down gladness. It's a song about winning despite the odds. And it feels like a Confederate anthem every so often, which is part of what makes it mysterious. And it's not a long song, it's short, and it really exemplifies the band's iconic reputation as striders. Now, more grass, pretty hot out, good weather. Next song, that was number 6. Number 5, we have, there's a sparrow, right? Number 5, we would have, also the chord progression is fun to learn. Midnight Rider, it's a fun song to play and sing. And the lyrics are really cute. Number 5 is Melissa. Melissa is one of those songs you go back to because you don't really understand why it exists. In my personal point of view, Melissa is a song about regret, and yet I do not think it is serious enough for it to be truly about regret. It's sort of the palimpsest of regret, or sort of the window's view of regret that obscures the reality behind the glass, for everyone else. Or maybe even, as colorful as this song is, a very colorful song, very strong chords. They hit you. You really feel every chord. There's not that many chords, but so it's sort of monumental. It's sort of monumental. It's like an obelisk. The guitar work and the singing is really meaningful, really sweet, really doleful. And I would go far as to call it tragic. However, it's not the most grand song, you'd say. I think the guitar work makes it grand and makes it kind of whirl around you. So that's number 5. It's Melissa. And of course, some people just know it as Sweet Melissa, which is kind of like the working title, But it's really just called Melissa. A name that, to me, means honey from ancient Greek. So it's something about that sort of sweetness, and it's not sugar. It's just a spice. It's called honey. Number 4. Number 4, we have a good one. Number 4, we have a great one. Number 4, I would call Mountain Jam. I think it's a live recording. However, it is stupendous. I do not know why I don't listen to it more often, except for the fact that it's terribly long and there's multiple parts to it. Live at Fillmore East, I believe. It sounds kind of like sexually, ambitiously emotive. It doesn't really sound like anything that would happen to anyone. I cannot understand the inspiration for that sort of thing. It's very lit up in the atmosphere. It's an atmospherical kind of medley of different moods. They're flavorful and intense and sharp and piquant. And then at the same time, they're really toned down and muted and distant. And it's a hallowed tune. And it's almost not really a tune. It's more like a raga. It just doesn't kind of really assort itself. It has a lot of concrete musicality to it. And that's about all you need to hear. I think it speaks for itself. It's called Mountain Jam. No one really dislikes a song called Mountain Jam. And if they do, they are lying. Do not like them. All right, or subscribe. That was my attempt at humor. Or Hummer, or whatever it is. Anyway, so that's number 4. Number 3 is called Dreams, which I still say is the perfect introductory song to this group, and it has been covered by Molly Hatchet, and who's also from Jacksonville, although some would argue that Allman Brothers Band were not from Jacksonville. They were from like Macon in the end, or someplace like that, Atlanta, I don't know, southern Georgia, right? Tallahassee even. All over that area, southeast region, you might even say. South Carolina to some extent, right? Alabama for sure. stuff like that. Anyway, Dreams is a song that's sort of like their only kind of Billie Holiday sounding song. However, it is like the other one before called Little Martha. It's very sad, and it's not so glad like Midnight Rider. And I would say that Melissa's glad too, because Melissa is a sarcastic sort of look at something that is smoothed out and ends up being smoothened in your impression in the end, so you don't really feel like you get anything other than the airstream. Um, Whereas Dreams is a song about working and maybe even failing to work uh, refusingly, and probably more like profoundly in the end. And it's relatable to anyone who has a job they just can't swing. And so it's a working man's tune. I don't really know how relatable it is once you're doing jobs. I tend to avoid listening to sad music when I'm at a site. However, I will say this: if you listen to that song, you will know quite well that you are not alone on planet Earth, and it's a song that does that exactly. That's why I need to listen to Dreams by the Allman Brothers Band. Dreams hung up on, right? Dreams I cannot see, cannot feel. Dreams I cannot be. Right? One of the better lyrical songs by A Shot in the Dark, right? By a hit that's worth $1 million. Anyway, although the money that they made, I don't know. It sounds hard to sing a song like that after you make so much money, right? Who's to say? Still, it's still a painterly anthem to me, and I really support anyone who wants to learn Allman Brothers sort of soundscape, which has a lot of tapestry to it. To that one. Next one up, number 2. Not quite as archaic as Dreams in its subject matter, is a song called Blue Sky, which is a little more like a Native American Americana jam. And it's unlike Mountain Jam, it's got a lot of personality. The lyrics are excellent for a change from some of the other songs out there in the Allman Brothers catalog. And unlike so many groups that are like trying really hard to have great lyrics, they had really pure lyrics, and it transcended greatness very instantly. And the other part to it is that the guitar work is like the perfect stoner guitar solo. So keep that in mind. They do sort of like a twin lead sort of thing. They trade solos between Richard Betts and Duane Allman, and they end up kind of harmonizing better than any song you find in their catalog by a lot. The Allman Brothers catalog has great harmonies. I think the easiest one that's a steal is this one. It's called Blue Sky, and it's somehow about some sort of woman who betrays someone or doesn't really get along, or maybe it's just like a fling. That is also what adds to it, because it has an emotional romantic realism to it, which a lot of the other music they play sounds a little phony, which is often a complaint about the Allman Brothers Band, I will admit. I don't think it's quite as phony as some people say it is, though. Maybe a little too oneric, for sure. A little too diaphanous and a little too evanescent, right? I don't really like their music quite yet. I'm not too hip to it. Alternative doesn't appeal to me, so I say evanescence. I do it because I'm a little afraid of it. I would say effervescent is also what it's like. It kind of bubbles up and then fades away. Now, number 1 is my all-time favorite, and it's a song that kind of rivals any hard rock group. Best song. It's called The Whipping Post. And it's just a song that makes you realize that you've been betrayed. It makes you realize that you have a chance to shine again. It's a song about brutality and cruelty and the harshness of countenancing the truth and understanding that your visage will not change, but your life will. It's that sort of song. And Dreams kind of goes well with it. In Memory of Elizabeth Reed goes well with it if you're cautious. But Dreams pairs with it like fromage and vin, right? Is cheese and wine. So you got to go with that. The only thing is, it's a really tough song. It's hard. It's a drinking song. Most of them sort of have to be, but Whipping Post is a more charged and more pound for pound heavy drinking song. I think it's a little like a song that's sort of showing up Led Zeppelin or Sabbath or Deep Purple, along those lines. Even we could mention UFO or Uriah Heep. ZZ Top, of course, would love to have a song like that, and it's the one song that makes me think that they can rock harder than ZZ Top when I hear it, and I think it proves it. Sadly enough for legendary ZZ Top. And saying that in Austin, Texas, is a little weird. However, I get the feeling that they're more of a Houston band anyway. Now, here is my +1 for you. I'm only doing one honorable mention because their music is really worth exploring and not really worth discussing because they have so many odd titles. The titles to their songs are really medieval and arcane. They try to seem smart. I don't think they're as smart as they think they are, but they're smart enough to make me listen to their music and not feel dumb. Because the names are cute and quixotic, like a Les Bre in A minor. Like, I don't even know what that means. I don't really want to know what it means, but I'll listen to it just because it's bizarre. So they're excellent. I say excellent. I think they're exceptional at titles to their own detriment, and they end up sort of falling out on the wayside. However, the +1 is Jessica, which, like Melissa, you'd think is very glad. Jessica is more like mad or something. Like it seems glad at first because it's soaring instrumental where the whole band jams and has no lyrics whatsoever. It's very vivid. Probably their most vivid song if you hear it. In passing, I still say that Jessica is like the worst song that's amazing that's ever been made by man. It doesn't really have any sort of strings attached to it. It just sounds like Mario Kart. However, that to me is insane. And I think they must have been on some sort of rabies batshit mushrooms in order to like compose it. So that's my +1. It's sort of an honorable mention. In reality, I think it's the super track, which means it's the song that kind of replaced all other songs. And I do not like bringing it up because I do not think it is proper etiquette to compare it to anything. It's kind of like a rude one. So that's it. That's my On the Grass video. We decided to do, and by me, I mean all the schizophrenic versions of myself, right? Multiple personalities. We decided to do, I keep saying that. I decided to do this here in Austin, outside this building. It's kind of rough and tough. And I do it because I want you to know that try to do 20 minutes or so as the sort of the median, sort of 17 to 23 minutes, right? Try to do that, and then the average being 20, the mode being more like 18 or 22, right? 21, right? 19, right? We try to do that. However, the problem is, try to get a closer view while we have battery life. You look around here, it's pretty lame looking. We can do sideways, which I always like to do because I'm a human person with a mug. That's how it plays out. Self-referential for sure. When you have a big mug like this. And I'll say it right now to say to you, we're going to start doing the super track on most of these episodes because we need you to know that, we need all of you out there to know that it's kind of weird to compare songs and contrast them, and we need one that just is like a strong song that's bizarre. I would say even more like uncanny, not bizarre. Most of the songs are going to be bizarre if you listen to them, but the super track is peculiarly uncanny, and that makes it a contrast song. So we only mentioned one of them because it would derail the whole discussion. I believe you can't bring up those songs very often, or else you don't really have an episode. So that's it. And yeah, unfortunately, I'm not in Georgia. I've been there not that long ago in the past, and I did not feel in the mood. I was actually at a funeral, and the people there were a little too unlike the Allman Brothers for me to really even think about them. They weren't on my mind at all. Even though usually when I go to Georgia, I try to think about local music, such as REM, which again is a little like the soft rock version. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I do not know how REM and the Allman Brothers Band are in the same state, but it happened. All right, so that's 19 minutes. Good night and good luck, right? Take care.